I want to welcome our guest, Krystal Yates, to our podcast this morning. This is Professor Seeger, one of the co-directors with Randy Napier of our Executive MBA program. We are having a series of podcasts featuring all 5 of our executive coaches because they're terrific, and it really sets our program apart, and it gives any of our students a great opportunity to distinguish themselves from others in the marketplace with all this additional input and polish on the part of people like Krystal. So Krystal, thank you for your time. Welcome, and we are going to learn all about you in the next few minutes.
Thank you for having me.
So if you could start off and tell us, where you're from and where you went to school and various degrees or professional certifications, so people have a sense, because I think you're in the, I know, you help with the resume part. So, some background there, and so we see how that ties to the help you give folks on resumes.
Okay, well, background, I actually grew up here in Fort Worth. So, this is my hometown. Went to school at Texas Tech, where I actually studied psychology and then moved into human resources. So my certifications, my background is all HR related. I've got the SPHR and the SHRM SCP, which are the senior certifications. And about 5 years ago, I started a business to do HR consulting for small businesses. And through the course of ramping that up, I found out that I was very good at helping candidates with resumes. It's something that a lot of HR people do, and I was able to convert that into a part of my business model. So we've been working almost primarily with job seekers for the last 5 years, helping them with career coaching and with producing resumes.
Well, that's great. And I wondered if you could tell our audience how you got linked in with UTA and particularly this Executive MBA program.
I consider it mostly good luck on my part. I was actually working with one of the candidates, with one of your MBA candidates, and she introduced me to the program manager at the time, and we connected, and it's history from there.
And how many students do you think in your time here you've helped cumulatively?
Oh gosh, probably right around 100.
Oh wow, terrific!
Yeah.
And do you find it worthwhile in the sense because our students have such diverse backgrounds? Is that a plus for you personally, having to deal with the diversity?
It is. It kind of keeps my fingers in all of the different industries here in the DFW area. And working with the MBA students, your students are definitely the cream of the crop. They're some of my best customers. So I really enjoy working with the EMBA candidates.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So when a student calls you up and says, hey, Krystal, take us through the process. What kind of things do they say? What do you tell them? As I say, what is the process from A to Z, and what is the outcome? What should they expect to receive at the end of their interaction with you?
Well, one of the biggest things we do is we push really hard for an in-person meeting. Now, obviously, due to schedules, sometimes we do it on the phone, but we make sure that we have personal interaction with our students, with our clients, because we're able to dig deeper that way. If you already knew what went on a resume, then you'd probably have it on your own resume, right? And we just have to clean it up. So we want to start with an hour consultation where we not only talk through your background and where you're going so we can create the right information on the resume, but we talk about the job search as a whole. Because if you're not using the resume correctly, then it's not going to be as effective as it could be. So by the time we're done with a candidate, it's usually a 2-week turnaround. It's not a particularly long process, but by the time we're done, you've not only got a really effective executive level resume, but you've got a really solid idea on how to use it and how to most effectively job search. Now, a lot of our candidates aren't necessarily ready to job search. But if we can at least lay that foundation, then once they are, even if it's several years down the road, they'll be prepared to take that information and run with it.
I'm going to guess that you may run into an attitude of, a resume is a resume. Why spend time? I've got a resume. Why is that kind of attitude, not effective for whatever our candidates, want to get out of, their EMBA? Why is that maybe a bad view of the kind of things you can help them with?
Well, resumes aren't used the same way they were years ago.
See. Okay.
Years ago, you handed it to somebody, and there was an 85-90% chance they were going to call you whether it was a good fit or not.
Okay.
Because you took the time to put it together to contact them, they were going to reach out to you. Nowadays, you've got to get past applicant tracking software. It's all about artificial intelligence and work in the system. It's SEO, it's personal branding. There's so much more involved now than there used to be. I think one of the biggest challenges my clients come to me with is, I know I'm qualified. Why aren't these people calling me?
Uh-huh.
And it's because they're missing something on the resume. It's because they're not branding experts. They're not SEO experts. Okay. And so we're able to bring it's a skill set, and we're able to bring that skill set to their job search.
And can you clarify? I hear the term, but I don't know if I understand it. SEO, you use that term.
Search engine optimization. It's what businesses do with their websites, but it's what we've got to do with our resume as well, so the bots pick it up.
I see. And you mentioned something that's quite interesting, artificial intelligence. Could you talk about how submitting resumes has changed with the internet and artificial intelligence? Just give us a little detail about that, and then how do you break through that door?
Well, again, back in the day, an average job posting had maybe 50 resumes, and that was for the super entry level, because people had to be more particular. You had to sit down Sunday afternoon, circle the jobs on the paper, map out your route, and you had to go to these places to apply. So people were a lot more particular. AI has made it a whole lot easier, because we can just sit at our desks and hit the apply button and upload our information. Mm-hmm. And so people apply to more and more positions. The average number of applicants to an open job is anywhere between 200 and 600 now.
Right. Okay.
As opposed to topping out around 50 like it did 20 years ago. And so hiring managers, recruiters are relying more and more on AI, on artificial intelligence, to weed through those for them. So they don't have to read 200 resumes. They can read 30 and just contact the most qualified people. The problem is, if you don't have the right verbiage, we've all heard the term garbage in, garbage out. Mm-hmm. If you don't tell them what they want to hear, even if you've got the right background, then you're never even going to get a phone call.
So that's where your expertise on
Yes.
SEO comes in, to make that connection, right? After you've interviewed the person and understand the job, what kind of keywords ought to be there?
Exactly.
Great. So when as I said, when the student has gone through, and you talked about an hour-long interview, and then you said about a 2-week turnaround, then you interact. I mean, is there, the feedback from the candidate and, some give and take?
Absolutely. So every resume is an individual reflection, right? They're not all the same. There's not any hard and fast rules. So based on our conversation, we're going to create a draft. We're going to send it to the candidate. They're going to review it. They're going to tell us what they like, what they don't like. They're going to say, you've completely missed the mark. I didn't really want to go into sales. I wanted to go into account management. So let's adjust this. And then we work back and forth together until we have a version that everybody's happy with. And I think it's important to say everybody, because my clients also are confident that if they ask me to do something that's not in their best interest, we're going to stop and we're going to have a conversation about that. We don't just blindly go, oh, well, sure, you asked for bright pink font. Let's make that happen. We're right. Going to talk about the business implications of doing that before we go down that path.
I understand. Now, our candidates, or many of our candidates, or I should say, many of our current cohort students are looking to maybe switch careers, given their EMBA experience, or to start their own businesses. Can you speak to your experience in terms of resume formation, given so many people are transitioning? It's not typically the usual, I'll put stuff down and it's my initial job. These people may be transitioning or starting their own business.
Those are some of our favorite to do because they're the most challenging. And really, it's an art form. It's knowing how to tweak that information and transition those skills from industry A to industry B, or from job type A to job type B. It takes a different sort of resume to make that happen, but it's actually a lot easier than most people think once you know how to do it.
Great.
And so, yeah, we probably 75% of our clients overall are in some sort of transition from one job type to another.
Great. So you tell your clients then, don't do this at home, correct? That's your disclaimer.
Yes, this is where an expert comes in.
Yeah, this is where an expert comes in.
You're an expert at what you do. We're an expert at putting it on paper for you.
Get it on paper. And also, I suppose that you're up to speed on all electronic media, so people can have paper copies or post electronic copies. So it's totally flexible with the work that you do on the so-called resume. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and we'll talk through the best way for them to utilize each of those.
Great. So I wanted to ask, as we sum up here, what is your personal mission statement as it relates to our program and the students you serve?
You know, my mission is to create solid job seekers and to create professionals who are happy in the jobs that they're doing. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as a job hunter is to settle. I'm looking for another job. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. My mission is to help people figure out, where do you really want to be, and to make that happen, which is a complete shift in thinking for when most people are looking for a job.
Right. Well, thank you. That's terrific. I want to thank you for joining us here today. I really have learned a lot about the whole area of resume writing, because I was stuck back in the dark ages. You know, that old attitude that you discussed at first. I just didn't realize that you brought all the AI